XSEED English, grade 5th, block number 9, conflicts and perspective, lesson plan 3, conflict and resolution. Students will be able to identify how a conflict is resolved and how character opinions change as a result. We are reading The Olive Tree. This story is set in Lebanon and has two main characters, Samir and Nada, who both think that the olives are theirs. Samir says that the olives are his because they fall in his land and his family has been taking care of the tree. On the other hand, Nada thinks that the olives are hers because the tree grows on her land. Let's read to see what happened next. Let's predict what will happen next. Their parents will come and ask them to share the olives, or they will both start pushing and hitting each other. Let's read and know. Open to page number 50 of English Reader. Nada and her family came and stood on their side, while Samir's family stood on theirs. Everyone stared at what was left of the tree. Then, one by one, the grown-ups drifted sadly back into their houses. Samir remained, his eyes stinging with tears. How he would miss that tree! No more cool shade from the softly whispering leaves, no more twisted branches to climb on, and no more of the best olives in Lebanon. Then Samir noticed Nada standing in the doorway of her kitchen. Slowly she came over to the broken wall. He turned to leave, but as she started to speak, he paused. "They always told me about this tree," she said quietly. "I wondered if I would ever see it. It seemed like my home, my parents' and my grandparents' home that they nearly lost, and now it..." Samir wanted to tell Nada, "Your family didn't have to go away. You could have stayed here. We would have been friends and could have shared the olives." But it did no good to say that now. Instead, with a sigh, Samir again looked around at the 2 yards, both strewn with the wood of the olive tree. "Well," he said shortly, "at least you will have lots of firewood this winter. It's all yours, yours." He picked up a couple of large chunks, stepped over the broken wall, and laid them next to Nada's house. As he continued carrying wood to her yard, gradually his heart ached a little less. For at least he was tending carefully to what was left of his old friend, the olive tree. Then, turning back from his third trip, Samir stopped short in a surprise. Nada had gone over to his yard, and there she too was picking up pieces of wood and piling them. So the two worked on, each in the other's yard. As the sun rose higher, without words they cleared up all the olive wood, each stacking it neatly against the other's house. And when at last Samir went home, he found on the chair by his door a little pile of perfect olives, carefully salvaged from among the splinters and withering leaves. So now let's conclude the story. There was a fierce storm that destroyed the olive tree and the wall that divided their lands. Both Nada and Samir loved the olive tree. When they saw it all broken, they saw each other becoming sad, and understood how much the tree meant to the other person. Yes, they changed their opinions. We know this by looking at their gesture of sharing the olives and its woods. The olive tree was important to Samir because he had been eating olives since childhood and climbing on its branches. Nada had been a refugee as the house had been forcefully taken away from her because of the war, and the olive tree was a symbol of regaining what was hers. It made her feel at home. Samir understands now why Nada was not letting him pick up the olives, but is angry because the olive tree has now been destroyed, and there will be no more olives to share. Open to page number 7 Volume 2, Conflict Resolution. First question. What is the opinion of the character at the end of the story? Samir sees how sad Nada is and understands how important the tree was for her, even though he is angry. Nada now understands how much the olive tree meant to Samir. Is this opinion different from the character's opinion in the beginning of the story? How? Yes, in the beginning, Samir feels that the olives belong to him and does not understand how important they were for Nada. At the end, though he is angry, he could see that Nada was as sad as him. In the beginning, Nada feels that the olives belongs only to her. In the end, she leaves a jar full of olives for Samir in his house. Why did character's opinion change? Samir hears Nada talking about how the olive tree was something that made her feel at home after being a refugee for so long, and that she felt lost again. Nada sees Samir heartbroken and angry, piling up all the remains of the tree that were destroyed by the storm in front of her house. What do you think would have happened if the storm hadn't come and the olive tree was still standing? Why? I think that Nada and Samir would continue to be angry at each other and never become friends. This is because they would not be able to see or understand how much the tree meant to the other person and how sad the other person would become if the tree was destroyed.